Hey, friends and family, it is chrisloewen here again with another episode from Outside the Walls podcast. This is a podcast where we have a variety of conversations with different people of different perspectives from what many of us would normally encounter in everyday life. The ideas and topics that we discuss in each of these episodes are there for us to consider, but there is no expectation or pressure for everyone to agree, nor are these even official position of Crossview Church. The desire to learn through healthy dialogue from a posture of curiosity without feeling the pressure to agree with everything that is said in each episode. That is the goal, and that is the desire of what we're trying to do with this podcast. So, in today's episode, we have a friend of ours on the show named Hossein Abbasnejad, who is a wonderful Muslim gentleman from the Steinbach area. Hossein is an Iranian born father of two sons, a husband, a businessman, and an electronics engineer. He grew up in the northwestern region of Iran and in a religious Muslim family with deep beliefs in God. After 2 decades of running his business in Iran, Hossein decided to move to Canada and to start a new life here for his two children. Since arriving in Steinbach, he has been welcomed by people in the community and he is enjoying life in the community. Please welcome to the show the one and only Hossein Abbasnejad.
Well, hello everyone and welcome here. It's Chris and Chris with the Crossview Church Outside the Walls podcast. And we're here today with my Muslim friend, Hossein Abbasnejad, who is going to help us in just a moment learn how to pronounce that last name correctly.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a conversation with him. We want to learn what was it like for him growing up as a Muslim in Iran. And this is one of our passions on this Outside the Walls podcast, is to talk to people from outside of our walls. And we want to show you how to have a friendship and a conversation, friendly conversations with Muslims and people who are not Christian. So we're really looking forward to this interview with Hossein. Hossein, welcome here. And can you help us to understand how to properly pronounce your last name?
Yeah. It is Abbasnejad. So, yeah, I have some difficulties sometimes here pronouncing it. But I ask, sometimes people just call me ABB, Hossein ABB. So,
Hossein Abba.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good having you here, Hossein. Why don't we just start by jumping right into this? You and I have known each other. Is it a year now? Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's been you're my first Muslim friend.
Yeah. It is almost 1 year. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't you start by telling everybody a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, Hossein, and a little bit what that was like where you grew up.
Yeah, I'm originally from Iran, or some people call it Iran here, but we pronounce it in Iran. And it is we can say that Persians are the majority of people there in Iran. We have some minorities, including Azeri Turkish-speaking people, which is maybe 1/3 of Iranians, and then we have other minorities. I'm one of those Turkish-speaking people. My mother tongue is Turkish, and I have learned Persian or Farsi in school only, and then I'm grown in the city of Tabriz, which is northwest of Iran, close to Turkey. It is a mountain area, a relatively cold area, and because Iran is
winters, compared to winters here, what's it like?
Yeah, it was not that cold as here, but still we had cold winters. We had up to -32 there. I have experienced.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I think most people, when we think of Iran, we're thinking of something really hot, and I guess parts of the country are, but
yeah, southern part is like that. It has hot weather, but where I'm from is almost cold weather. And in terms of religious, Iranians are almost, we can say, Muslims, maybe more than 95%. And again, inside of that, they are almost Shia Muslims, because we have Shia and Sunni.
That's
right.
right.
So just for people listening, there's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hossein, but there's two major different groups of Muslims. One is Sunni Muslim, which is most of the Muslim world, and then one is Shia Islam, but that which is the minority in the world, but that's the majority in
Iran. Yeah.
And would you have both kinds of Muslims represented in Iran, or Iran being mostly one?
Iran is known almost to be a Shia country,
Okay.
but we have maybe less than 10% of Sunni people, and they are almost in western side, the Kurdish people, and
Yeah.
some of them in the southern border of Persian Gulf up to eastern part. So it is almost the border side of the Iran are Sunni people,
Okay.
and there is the fundamentals of them is the same because we have five main fundamentals in Islam, but then we have some differences between Shia and Muslim and Sunni Muslims after Prophet. So our Prophet, Honorable Muhammad, when he died, then uh, these two I don't know how to call it, religious. We cannot because it is
Yeah.
both Islam religious. So sub religious subdivisions appeared, and some of them believed on some Khalifa, four Caliphs after Prophet. So it was Abu Bakr and up to Ali, which was the son-in-law of the Prophet. So they were Sunni, which is translated to traditional Islam, and but in Shia they said that after Prophet it was supposed to be Ali the first Imam, actually meaning the person after Prophet who is managing the Muslims.
So
Uh,
is it kind of like it's sort of a split over? I want to be careful with this, but of like who
yeah, yeah,
should be kind of like the Pope,
exactly.
who's the leader of the religion.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the Sunnis have a certain the leaders are this line of
yeah,
people,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but at it like four generations down from the prophet Muhammad, four generations down, the Shias had a different kind of pope, if we were to use that.
We can't say generations because those caliphs were there for a couple of years, and
Hmm,
then Ali still was just the cousin of Prophet, and
right.
also he was the son-in-law of the Prophet. So, but Shia said that it was supposed to be after Prophet, as per his instructions. It was supposed to be Ali, the next person who
Oh, got
be
it.
head of the Muslims, and then most of Shia people believe that 12 generation after Ali has been there. Some believe up to six, some believe up to seven.
Got
So,
it.
but mainly it is 12. Yeah, 12. So this is the main difference between them. And the thing is that Shia people, when they want to pray, they say that okay, they say that these holy persons can help us to
Like
reach.
holy,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Holy, sorry, holy. Forgive my bad English first
No,
of
no,
all.
your English is great, Hossein. It's great.
Yeah, but the Sunni
You're good.
people say
You're
that
good.
we have only prophet. We don't need any person else to
Got it.
talk about, and so we just talk with the via prophet to the God.
Right.
So, yeah, this is
So
some differences between. Yeah,
so you coming from Iran,
yeah,
you grew up Shia.
yeah,
Now, could you tell us a bit, like, what was your family like? Like, I think people were like, we're all curious.
yeah,
What was it like growing up in the city of Tabriz in
yeah.
Iran as a Muslim? What did your dad do for a living? How many siblings did you have? Did you go to school? Did you go to church? I mean, it wouldn't have been church.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
go to mosque?
must be.
Tell us a bit of what life was like growing up.
Yeah, my childhood was at early 80s, and then everybody in that area, at least that I was there, were religious people, and in total, we can say in Iran, maybe over 80% of people were real Muslims and believers, and they were going to mosque and practicing prayers altogether. Because in Islam, it is not like Christianity that only one day of the week you go to mosque. You can go every day, and
Okay, yeah.
we have prayers in Islam, which is in five times from morning up to late at the night, and it is recommended to do it together with others in mosque rather than, but still you can do it alone at home. So
Right.
yeah, a lot of people would go to mosque to do it together, practice it together. And then we have this Ramadan, which is fasting season, 1 month every year, every lunar year, that we do fasting. So yeah, people doing this. So when we were kid, we would going together with my father to mosque, and we were
So
enjoying
how
it.
often how often would your family go? Like what would like?
Maybe at a couple of times a week at least. Yeah,
Oh
we
yeah,
would.
okay,
Yeah. We would go, and then we would enjoy the practicing prayers all together with others, and read Quran sometimes all together again. Yeah, this was but it was very hard days actually at that time, because we had the war that was imposed from Saddam Hussein to Iran for 8 years. It was not
right.
very easy years, our child.
The
Yeah,
8 year
yeah.
Iraq-Iran war there in the 80s.
I
Yeah,
don't call it Iraq. Iraq did not attack Iran. It was Saddam Hussein. It was a person who was in charge of that country
right.
decided to attack Iran. I don't call it Iraq. Maybe not everybody in Iraq was with that
Right.
decision. So
Oh, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
So now back to so your family would a couple of times go to mosque a week. So
Yeah.
obviously your parents, your mom and dad are Muslims. Your family's
Yeah, deep
Muslims.
believers. Yeah,
Now you've been to a couple of our Crossview Church services.
yeah.
How would mosque going to mosque be different? Like, would you have singing there? Would you have a sermon kind of like we have? What kind of
That's a
stuff
good
is going
question.
on there when you go to mosque?
Actually, it's like this, that there it is almost prayers and reading Quran, but we don't have too much singing. Maybe we have the person who is talking there has something like singing, but it is only that person. Not everybody does it, and everybody listens to that. And then after that, next decades, there was a problem that other the politics and these things are mixed with our religion programs, unfortunately. And then, especially me and a lot of people like me, so that it is not just religious to go to mosque. So if you want to go there, you should practice some political things and these things. And this was a big mistake. So these days, to be honest with you, if again I tried once in Tehran to go to a mosque, but when I went, I saw that it is a very few of religious happening there. A
Okay,
lot of
so
politics happening there. So I said that I better to, if I wanna do some practice something, I do it myself with hold my heart, at home, without considering any distraction or anything like that.
so what you're saying is like one of the things for you that was bothering you in Iran in the mosques was instead of like just teaching Islam, they were mixing in politics. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, sort of,
Ah,
are you talking about hatred for the West? Are you talking about like what do you mean by politics? That they were mixing politics into their sermons?
I call it very specialized reading of Islam that system wants to use in his own favor. But I think it's very cruel to use people's very pure beliefs in your own purposes, which is the biggest mistake, because religious is something related to heart, to spiritual, to your personality. But politics has a lot of other things and conditions, which sometimes even goes out of control. So mixing
Yeah.
them is a very, very big mistake, and this has caused, unfortunately, that believing in new generations in Iran has decreased a lot. And now maybe you have heard about those unrest, and people say now have started to say that if this is your Islam, we have problem with that. They don't
Okay.
say we have problem with Islam. So yeah, but
So
since you
you're
asked
saying that
about,
a lot
yeah,
of young people that you know, like from back home,
yeah,
are rejecting the politicization of Islam in the mosque. They're
exactly,
rejecting.
yeah.
Okay,
okay.
that's
So
fascinating.
Hussein,
Maybe still they are believers, but they have problems with this mixture with it, and even some of them has become unbelievers these days.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so you know what, Hussein, I find this very, very fascinating because we have the same problem in
yeah,
Christianity, where
yeah,
we mix in politics with our faith,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Chris and I would testify to the damage that is done as well.
yeah,
I'm curious. So within Christianity, we have such a broad spectrum. We have so many denominations represented
Yeah.
within Christianity. Within Islam, do you see a similar spectrum between kind of a progressive versus a fundamental Muslim?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something, my experience, because I participated, I think, at least 3 times in your services in church. And as I told to Chris before, I can't see any differences between our learnings and what Chris was talking there as a pastor. I really enjoyed it. There was nothing against each other. So a pure religion, it is all the same. It is for the favor of people to have a better life. The purpose of it is to have a better life, and growing the good spirits on people, and people having better hearts and better thinking about other people. And I'm a very strong believer. And I enjoy talking and being with people that are strong believers, and it doesn't matter for me if it is Christian or it is Jewish or any other, or Zoroastrians as we have in Iran, or any other, or Baha'is, any other. For me,
Hussein,
yeah,
could you just right along with what you're saying here? You and me once had a conversation that I thought was really fascinating,
yeah,
and you told me, you said, Chris, let me tell you why I believe in God.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I thought it was fascinating because you told me,
yeah,
you said, I am not an atheist. There must be a God, and then you told me why. Would you
yeah.
tell everybody those reasons?
Yeah, it is discussed always, these reasons of proving that God is there, and some of them are philosophical reasons that I don't know anything about. That it's very professional thing. And when I was university, a big philosopher, we call it philosopher, or
Hmm.
philosophy specialist anyway, was speaking, and I was sitting there for 2 hours. I didn't understand maybe only one or two sentences out of 2 hours. So it's totally different thing. But as an engineer, I'm an engineer. When I look at the system of the body, I think that it is engineered really well in the best way, because during the design we have overall considerations and perform best performance of the system we design. I can see that body has all with all of these organs, and we have equivalent of them in our own design. For example, we have the brain as CPU we design in systems, and we have hand and leg, we have actuators there. So this cannot be done by itself. This is my
Mm.
understanding. Or if you look at the universe, how it works, and all of this physics and these things, some people say that okay, it is pure physics, it has nothing to do with God. But in my point of view, it is a sign of God for me, because
Yeah.
everything is working well, and there is always, it should be a creator behind that. It cannot be just done out of nothing like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
love
there are some
those are.
philosophical reasons as well that I don't know anything about that.
But then you also had. By the way, I find those reasons very compelling too. I look at the universe and the human body, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's amazing. It speaks to me of how amazing God must be.
Beside this, Chris, I think that humans always need God to have there, even unbelievers. When you sit in an aircraft, I have done a lot of these flights, and sometimes I had very, very bad bumpy flight. Very, very bad. That I every second I thought that the aircraft is going to take apart in pieces. And then I saw that how everybody is screaming, "Oh God, help us! Oh God!" And I already knew that this guy says that I'm not a believer. So why are you calling the God now? So at least, at
Yeah,
least, at
fair.
least in this point of view, we all need to have God for us
Right.
as a very big support for us during our hard times and hard days. Yeah.
Now, you also in one of our conversations talked about you've had some spiritual experiences that you can't explain. Do you remember that conversation? Would you want to share those stories at all?
Yeah, yeah. These are some things that I have no idea in point of scientific point of view. Some supernatural things that I had heard before. I said no, these things are not exist. But I experienced some people that could predict some things or could say something. For example, we were sitting with a person, and a lady came and said that, okay, somebody has stolen my husband's car, and it was the only income for us. He was working with that as a taxi. So he said that, I'm trying to tell you where it is, and try to write it down or keep in your mind. I can't tell you next time. So then he said the address, that, okay, you can go by police or yourself to find what is it doing there. Or for example, then he said, oh, our friend is coming here, and a couple of seconds later we saw that he entered in. So some things are there, but I can't have any reason or explanation on it because it's not my profession. I never talk about something that I don't have a knowledge on it,
So
but
now,
experience. Yeah.
are you? It sounds like you went to like. Did you go to a fortune teller? And is that okay for Muslims to do?
Ah, technically, it is said that better not to go to these things. But I was really curious to see what's going on, and something is going on. And for example, I had a friend of mine asked him that, okay, we have some difficulties in our business, and do you know where it comes from? And he named the person, and he didn't know
This
that guy.
fortune
And he
teller.
named the person that we thought that maybe he's related to all of these problems. So he named the person. So there is something there, but I have absolutely no explanation on it.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely
and
no. I have no clue how it works.
this is part of your reasons why you believe there must be a God, there must be a spiritual
Yeah,
world out there,
because
because these things you can't explain.
In Holy Quran, it is mentioned that we have humans and we have supernaturals. We have God says that I have created both, and in both of them, it is told that there are good people in them and bad people of them. So yeah, there are some beliefs, and it is told that humans are made from material and those things are made from energy. So this is how we know. I can't go too much through that because I don't have that knowledge.
Yeah, I think
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
we would use words like demons or
Yeah,
angels or things like that.
or
That's
genes are
jins is what you guys would say. Yes, jins, Jinns.
yeah.
I
And
some
even in Quran we have a Quran has some statements, 100 and something. So I don't know how the word in English. I call it each section maybe. And even we have one section in the name of genes. So it is
right
talked about that. Yeah.
now something Hussein, like in your practice of Islam,
Yeah.
and I think this is what Chris was getting at before.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's so many different kinds of Muslims. Like one of the things, even as we're having this conversation,
Yeah.
that you know, you don't represent. It's like there's so many different kinds of Christians. We have Catholics, we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
Orthodox, we have
Yeah.
evangelicals. You talk to and I think one of the things I want people to understand is that Muslims aren't all the same.
Mm-mm.
So in the same way, like you could, someone could interview a Catholic or a Greek Orthodox person and then think that they know what all Christians are like. But there's many different kinds of Muslims. What would you say to that?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. These Shia and Sunni are the main divisions, but we have subdivisions, as I told you. For example, as far as I know, the Sunnis have four subdivisions, and the Shia has, I suppose, three subdivisions. But the difference is very small. The difference is small, and even even a Sunni person and a Shia person can pray together.
Okay.
Actually, it is said in Shia that you can pray together with a Sunni person, but I think that the other is not that easy, that Sunnis can pray together with Shias. But I don't see too much differences between them to make them maybe fighting or
Right.
arguing or anything like this. It
Right.
is not big differences as long as they believe the same God, the same Holy Quran, the same Prophet. So I don't
But
see very fundamental differences between.
but not everybody. Like, so for example, you maybe tell us a little bit about like like you and I mean, we just get along. You and I talk about God, we talk about Islam, Christianity, Jesus. So we want to get into all of that yet too, some of it. One of the things I've just found, I mean, you're just so friendly to talk about faith.
Yeah,
Now, many or at least some Muslims probably wouldn't agree with, like, just like there'd be some Christians who, they would be maybe less accepting, others would be more accepting. You can
yeah,
have all these like spectrums, right? But
yeah,
like your the way you practice Islam is probably different. Like there would be a lot of Muslims maybe that you would know too who would think, very differently, or more like who practice their prayers much more, who would think that Christians are, that we're infidels or whatever, or things
yeah.
like that. Like what would you say to that, and how do you practice Islam?
Yeah, it depends on the person. If the person is I don't want to use the high educated person. I can say maybe mind made it. I don't know the exact word in English, that has made his brain ready for all of these things. They never think about these differences. They always think about that. Okay, Shia and Muslim are and Sunni are both Muslims, or even Muslims and Christians are they both are practicing the worship of the same God. So there is no reason to make any arguments and try to do some fights or these things. So it depends on the person, Chris, that how interprets, translates that to himself, that how is it. So when I told you that when you want to become a Muslim, one of the prerequisitions is to believe in some other prophets, at least before Muhammad. And it is the main five prophets that we must believe
Okay.
before we become a Muslim. One of them is Honorable Jesus.
Okay, tell us. Okay, that's interesting. Explain
Yeah,
to us these five prophets that as a
yeah,
Muslim you need to believe in. Who are the five prophets you need to believe in?
yeah. It is
Hmm.
the Honorable Ibrahim, Noah, Isis, Moses, and Muhammad. These five. Okay.
Okay, so Abraham,
Yeah,
Noah,
Noah and
Moses,
Moses, Jesus,
Jesus,
and
and
Muhammad.
Muhammad. Oh,
And
fascinating. I
Okay.
bet you most of the people
yeah,
listening here probably didn't know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is called Ibrahimic religions.
Yes.
Yep. So it comes all from that root, and we never use the name of those five prophets, at least without word honorable. We always use it. We know it. It's very improper if we just say Jesus. We always say honorable Jesus. Never
Okay.
ever.
Okay.
Myself, I never use it without honorable. I can't, especially in my own language. I never can tell it just Jesus. We always say honorable Jesus.
So,
Okay.
how would you say honorable Jesus in your language, in the Turkish language?
Yeah, it is the same in Turkish and Persian for these things, for religious things, because it comes all from Arabic.
Yeah.
And also Hebrew roots. So we call it Hazrat Isa. The Jesus, we call it Isa. Hazrat means honorable. Yeah. So we call it
Okay.
Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Musa, Hazrat Isa, and Hazrat Muhammad, and Hazrat Nuh. Yeah. We call it like this. So yeah, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but yeah, we have full respect on Christianity, and as I told, we know Islam as in continuation of Christianity. This is our belief.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm curious now. So within Islam, you have the Quran. That's kind of your.
yeah,
So in
yeah.
Christianity, we have the Bible, and the Bible
uh,
consists of Old Testament and New
yeah,
Testament.
yeah.
Within the Quran, I'm sure you have different parts. Would it be you have a different part, kind of like in
Yeah.
Christianity?
Actually, it is not that much deviation between Qurans. I'm not a specialized in that side, but as far as I know, it is not that big differences between versions of Quran, and maybe even it is called only one version of it.
Okay.
But the thing is that because it is written a couple of scripted or written a couple of years after Prophet, maybe some things happened in between of prophet time and the time that they have started to write it down. I don't know this, but we don't have too much variations in Quran, we
Okay,
can say
okay.
so.
And
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking that question is because within Christianity we have many different opinions of how to reconcile
Mhm.
our Old
Mhm.
Testament with the New Testament. And
Yeah.
a lot of Christians would say that the Old Testament is there's so much violence and so
Mhm.
much problematic thing that we have to somehow merge
Mm.
that together
Gotcha. Gotcha.
with what you see in the New Testament. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, within Islam, you obviously have different interpretation of your Quran, which
Yeah.
leads to different ways of practicing Islam. Can you comment on that?
Um,
Like
as I
maybe
told
talk about
you,
the violence specifically. Like
Yes,
Chris,
yeah,
maybe a
that's
specific
where I was getting
example
at.
would be like
yeah, yeah,
some Muslims, like there's some violence in the Old Testament in the Bible. Some Muslims will quote verses from the Quran that are
yeah.
violent. How do you understand those verses?
The different understandings from Quran is not that much in principles, because our main practices are the same: the prayers, the Hajj as you go to Mecca,
Oh yeah, I
and
want to ask you about that later because you've been
yeah, yeah,
on
the
the Hajj. We'll
Ramadan,
talk about that.
yeah, the Ramadan, and the sins and all of these things, and the life after death, and these things are discussed. These are the principles of the Islam. It doesn't matter you're a Shia or Sunni or anything else; they all believe on it. So, and there is not too much difference in translating Quran between people. It is not too much. Just the differences is after Prophet and after coming Quran that some things
Okay,
happen. But in my opinion, it is not that big that they start to fight. But there are some groups and some maybe systems that would like it to be there, all of these difference, and they want to push those differences and use advantages of them to in other purposes.
okay,
But they are not that big that they can cause some big problems, in my opinion. If they are interpreted and taught in the correct way, there is no problem to be a Sunni or Shia. You can practice as friends together and nothing happens. Yeah.
Now, like, what would you say? Because again, a lot of like, ever since 9/11, right? So 9/11,
Yeah.
when the planes flew into the towers in New York
Yeah.
City,
Yeah. Yeah.
for a lot of us in the West,
Yeah.
we kind of grew up
Yeah.
with, you know, thinking this. I know this is terrible, but
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of people thinking Muslims are terrorists or
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
Muslims agree with this.
Yeah.
So clearly some Muslims understand the Quran to say that they need to do some violence, but obviously a lot of other Muslims don't.
If we talk about the pure Islam itself, it is like Christianity talking only about peace and have a better life for everybody and helping other people. As I told you, we have to believe Christianity before being a Muslim, and we have full respect on it.
Yeah.
So how it is said that, yeah, it is you know a command or something from Islam that, okay, go and attack everyone. No, no, there is not such a thing. There is not such a thing at all. So everything is happened. It's a decisions, but by groups and some systems. It is not what Islam says. Not Islam is a beautiful religion, and says that, okay, you believe in God and be friendly with everybody, and it is not like that. I'm totally against that belief. Yeah.
Now I want to come back to the Hajj in just a second. I just want to ask one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Because again, many people, and again, there are Muslims who will
Yeah.
understand things differently than you. But
Mhm.
are you growing up in Tabriz and you have run a business? You still have a business in Iran.
Yeah.
You've been to Tehran, all these things.
Yeah.
In your experience, a lot of the people in Iran, because when we think of Iran, we think of quite an extreme, sort of a scary country. That's what we see on the news. Are there a lot of people like you? Like, what is your family like? Do they agree with you about peace, about not having political, violence being preached in mosques and stuff? Do you have a lot of friends back home who agree with you, or are you sort of a real minority in Iran?
I don't have any one friend, even one friend, who does not agree this, because I never become with a friend with, corrupted mentalities. I can
Right.
say this. So maybe over at least 80, 90% of people in Iran at least believe like this. They don't say that we need to do this. And as I told you, these things coming from some systems and some groups that they talk about violence and maybe attacking others, and even other Muslims. Not only it is not about attacking out of Islam. I mean, they're always attacking. Look at ISIS thing that happened, and
ISIS,
they
yeah.
they were every day telling that we're gonna take Syria and Iraq, but they said that our main aim is to take Iran. So why these things should happen, and both are Muslims. So it all comes from lack of education or something like well understanding this thing. But I think as time goes, people everywhere in the world are having more awareness of the facts and realities, and we will face less problems in this regard. I suppose this is my belief.
I want to ask you now about the Hajj, but I
Yeah,
just want to summarize because I think it's come up
yeah,
now twice in this conversation, and I know
yeah,
I've heard it from you before
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I think there are some implications even for Christians. But
Mm.
you have said a couple of times that when there's a difference between educated people within Islam
Yeah.
and non-educated, that those who have education, who have been exposed to more of the world, who are more well read,
Hmm.
tend to be more peaceful and understanding of a lot of things, whereas those who are don't have that privilege,
Uh,
uh, maybe and then are maybe in areas where they're having certain things preached to them,
yeah, yeah.
that's a big problem.
Actually, when I say educated, I don't mean a university degree or anything like this. I mean uh, religiously educated, well or wrong,
Mm,
Okay.
with good beliefs and instructions or bad beliefs and instructions. That so when I mean education, I mean this.
right.
So we have a lot of educated people are even unbelievers. So it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. So I need to clarify this.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Okay. So tell us, I've loved hearing some of your stories about the Hajj. So for everybody listening
yeah,
again,
yeah, yeah,
there's five things that Muslims are supposed to do,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
five pillars. So
yeah, yeah,
one is you're supposed to pray 5 times a day.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And one of them is that every Muslim, if they can afford it, is
yeah,
supposed to go on a pilgrimage, which you guys call the Hajj,
Hajj, yeah, yeah,
to this city in Saudi Arabia that's now in Saudi Arabia called Mecca.
Mecca, yeah,
So
yeah,
millions and millions of Muslims do
yeah, yeah,
this every year.
yeah, yeah,
And you, as a good Muslim, have made this trip, this
yeah,
pilgrimage to Mecca called the
yeah,
Hajj. Can you tell what is it like? There's so many people there. What do you do there?
yeah, yeah,
What are you wearing? What are you eating? Is it
yeah, yeah.
packed with
I-
people? What's it like?
Yeah, Hajj is a we can say ceremony that is done once every lunar year. That you go to a special, and it has a special schedule for that, and you have to do some special things there up to last day, and then you finish it and come back to your country, and it is called the big Hajj or main Hajj. Okay, and and everybody from different countries, every country has a dedicated amount of people now these days agreed that can go there. For example, from Iran every year nearly 100,000 people can go.
Oh, so there's
So
like a quota per country.
yeah, it is.
So
And
Iran gets
Interesting.
100,000 people.
yeah, and
Saudi Arabia gets another number.
there is a line. You need to wait sometimes 30 or 40 years to be your turn. And yeah,
Oh.
then they start from elder people stand and then goes to younger ones. So this is the big Hajj that happens and at a special time of the lunar year. But still nothing stops you from going to Mecca and do the other Hajj, which is more personal Hajj. So it has some instructions, but it shouldn't be exactly in the same way as the main one. And the main one is relatively more expensive, but when you have ability to do that, you can go to do the other one that I have done it. I think, yeah, it was 10 years ago. We went there, and it was really good and spiritual. I really enjoyed it. So when you entering Mecca, Mecca has been the city that our prophet raised and became a prophet there. So the place that he had all of these revolution, how you call it,
Revelations, like
revelation, sorry, yeah, yeah, it was there. We could see there that what where first time it happened and he became a prophet, and all the events in our Islamic history were in that city, Mecca. So it was a big thing for us to go and see all of those places that has discussed even in Quran and in our history, Islamic history. So yeah, it was very good. We really enjoyed it. And when you want to enter Mecca, just out of city, you need to change your clothes. You have to have white towels, white
okay.
towels clean. And that, I think that philosophy of it is that everyone to be equal. Everybody wears the same. So you don't say that, okay, I'm a rich person, I'm from blah blah, the other one is like this. So everyone is equal.
So nobody's wearing jeans and t-shirts.
No,
Everybody's wearing like white robes.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Until you finish your all of your things to do there. That day you finish, then you are free to wear as you want. But since you enter then and up to finishing of all of those things that may take a couple of days, you have to obey some restrictions, and you try to not to lie at all and do any sins, and this to be, it is always told to be like that, but there it is told that have some special respect to the holy city of Mecca, because it is holy city, called holy city, and you should be much more cautious about what you talk, how you look, and what you do. Yeah,
So
Hmm.
you should always not be sinning, but when you're in
yeah,
Mecca, you should really work hard not to
really,
sin.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is said that it is even a bigger sin that you have no respect to where a holy place
Hmm.
that you are in, and why you have gone there. If you wanted to do all of this, better not to go.
Are now one of the things. So you have a list of things, and we don't have time to probably to talk about all of them.
Hmm?
But so everybody's wearing these white robes.
Yeah,
Everybody's the same.
yeah,
You know, millions of people.
yeah,
Now you go to this one place. It's called the Kaba. It's like a
yeah, yeah.
black stone.
It is
Okay,
a, yeah, cube, a
a
cube,
cube.
yeah,
Okay,
cube, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and then so what's the ritual? Because you see people, you'll see pictures of this like in National Geographic stuff like that.
yeah,
What
yeah.
happens at the Kaaba, and did you do the Kaaba thing?
In Quran, it is said that Kaba is made by Abraham, Honorable Abraham,
Okay.
and he has made it together with help of even his wives and kids. He has made it, and sometimes it is said that it has been even some remains before Abraham. So it is very very special geographical spot that has been made for I don't know, centuries before that. And then at even when our prophet was there, and even before Islam, just years before Islam, that our prophet was there, the Kaaba was there. So it is a very very long history behind that, and it is not just, but because the city was the origin of Islam, and it is known as the main mosque of Islam is made around it, Masjidul Haram. Masjidul Haram means the main mosque, so is there. So yeah,
So now lots and lots of people, thousands of people at a time, will go
yeah,
to this huge black
yeah.
cube, this Kaaba, which is inside the main mosque of all of Islam. And then what happens?
And then you have to. It has special instructions, but you have to turn around it 7 times, and it is said that world the universe is created by God in 7 days and 7 nights.
Okay.
It is in
Hmm.
the beliefs, and it is said that by each round you remind all of those steps and all of those days of creation, and you say that, okay, I'm a part of this process, and I always say that, okay, this universe has created by God, and
Mm.
I'm here to make this belief again, tell that it's only God there that we believe.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
thousands of you are kind of marching around this huge black
yeah,
cube
7 times, 7 times.
7 times.
And if you are married, then you need to do another one for your marriage.
Oh, okay.
And if you
Oh.
forget to do that, you cannot go back to your wife. So
Oh,
don't do
so
that.
so maybe some guys intentionally forget.
But yeah, yeah,
So now,
yeah,
has your wife, your lovely wife
yeah,
Neda, has she done the Hajj as well? And did
yeah.
she go around the Kaaba?
We went together with family, with my son, and my son was very, both were there, my sons, and one mother and was there. So yeah, it was very good. We
So
did it
cool.
as a family team. Yeah,
We're getting closer to the end, and I also want to give Chris another shot too, and maybe he wants to clarify this one. I wanted to hear. Obviously, you're a Muslim. We're Christians. Uh, but would you tell us, as a Muslim? I mean, I've been really amazed how very respectful you are to Jesus.
yeah.
And again, we know that you're one Muslim. There's many different Muslims, but for you and how you've grown up, and the Muslims that you're part of, what do you think about Jesus, and why do you respect him so much?
Yeah, we know him as a prophet, has come from God's side. He is assigned by God to come there and help people to have better life. And we have full respect. We know him the symbol of peace and humanity and being a very kind person, as the same as our own prophet. We don't see difference between them. So they both were there to help the people to have a better life and change their life. We all heard about the horrible stories before all of those prophets happening there, but they have come there to say people that, okay, be kind to each other, and let's make a world a better place using the instructions from God. Yeah, we have full respect to Honorable Jesus. And we, again, in Islam, it is believed that when he was going to be on
Yeah,
cross,
crucified. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
cross. So Muslims believe that Honorable Jesus never died at that time,
right,
and he's
Hmm.
alive somewhere, and he will come back again at the end of I don't know, time, together with our own savior, together to
right.
save the world from the current situation. Yeah, this is the beliefs that we have, and we are happy
So
that
cool.
he will be there. Yeah.
So I'm curious, and that's super fascinating. I'm curious. So what do you as Muslim believe about forgiveness?
Yeah, like for
Oh,
sins.
How?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were talking with Chris the other day about this. In Islam, we consider two type of sins. One is sins related to God, and one sins related to other people. So
Okay.
when you get
Okay.
when you get cheat on some people, get his money, or doing some bad things to other people, I don't know anything, it is one thing. But when you do not do your prayers well, or you have something with God that you don't do properly, it is a sin to God. So there is a big difference between them, and we believe that the sins to God can be forgiven by God and will be forgiven by God finally. If you say that, okay, I'm sorry about what I have done and this thing. But bad things that you have done to other people, it's not anything easy to be forgiven. And God says that it is not something that I forgive you. You should ask for forgiveness of the same person yourself before you die. So before even going to Hajj, people try to make everybody happy. They ask the others, "Are you happy with me? Are you happy?" Nothing. And we say that if you have done such a bad thing to other person and he's not happy with you, what is the point of spending money and going to that Hajj and these things?
Right.
So it
Yeah.
is pointless. So yeah, this is the main difference. So our understandings say that if you have done anything bad thing to other people, try to make them happy
And
before you
then,
go.
so if
Yeah.
you make it right, so because it's interesting, Hussein, the reason we're asking these questions is lots of us as Christians,
Yeah.
we think certain things about Islam, but that in some cases just aren't accurate.
Mhm.
So sometimes we talk about Muslims not believing that they can ever find forgiveness. But
No.
what you're saying is, so there's these two kinds of sins. One is
Yeah.
like, I didn't do my prayers right. I didn't, there's sins against God, and you can ask him for forgiveness. He forgives you.
And he will do definitely.
Yeah.
That, yeah,
And then
you will
there's
get.
sins against people. And what you're saying there is God will only forgive you if you first go and make it right with the person. Like, don't
Exactly.
bother asking
I
him for
see.
forgiveness if
Okay.
you haven't asked the
Exactly.
person.
Don't waste your time. First of all, make everybody happy and then go to God. And God definitely will forgive you. Definitely. There is no doubt on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this has just been so it's been so fascinating, Hussein. Well, I think you made a new friend today with the other Chris.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know
Of
what? I
course.
want to
Yeah.
meet for coffee sometime. I
Yeah,
would love
Yeah.
to
Why
talk with
not?
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask one more question, and then I'll let Chris wrap up this time. But when now living in the West and
Yeah.
living among the people in the West, what would
Yeah.
be the misconception of Muslim that bothers you the most, and what can we do to maybe address or change that misconception?
What you mean by misconception? Bad image or something? But I don't
yes,
understand.
yes, bad
Yes,
image. Have you
yeah,
noticed
like a
that we
Yeah.
Canadians have wrong thinking about Muslims? That
yeah,
anything that you notice?
Yeah, you just told that some beliefs you had already
yeah,
about Muslim, not only you, I mean, in total in West,
Mhm.
and it should be changed. The more you focus on differences and problems, the problems raise. So you should have everybody, I mean, should have a right image about Islam, and also Muslims. We have some Muslims that have very bad images about Christians and these things,
yeah,
and even maybe you ask some Muslims, they say that, oh, Christians believe God. Oh, come on. So we have these bad images everywhere, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, that should be corrected. But I'm so confident that with the social media and internet and increasing of awareness, things cannot be reflected in wrong way.
that
So
that
now things are moving toward clarification and being clear more and more, and this will work. So this is the right education that people will get. So
yeah.
and now I think that the bias on media is in decrease, and I know
the bias. Yes, bias is
the bias.
decreasing. You think? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The bias on media has been one of the main reasons that all of these bad images has happened.
Absolutely,
Sometimes
absolutely.
on purpose, sometimes without purpose. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
that actually just triggered one more question,
yeah,
Hussein. That's
yeah,
something I think is maybe one of the most important things for some of our listeners to hear. And one of the things that has really encouraged me in many of our conversations is
yeah.
uh, what do you think about our, like, the freedoms we have here? Like here in
Mhm.
Canada and in Steinbach,
that's a great question.
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
you've heard people say, I mean, you and I have talked about this, the
yeah,
signs that say F Trudeau, okay?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah,
vulgar.
yeah, 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 yeah.
What do you think about, like, compared to some of the things you've experienced back home in Iran and that are going on there? Compare what we have here to what we have there.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very essential question. Very essential. And maybe this is the reason that why I'm here. You know, immigration is a very, very big decision, very fundamental change in your life. You change everything. You come from other side of globe to other side, and everything is changed. It's not that easy to make that big decision, and it should be a very important reason behind that. And this is freedom. This is freedom. So if you go to my country and you talk about system, the next day you will be disappeared, and it is happening every day, you know.
Like
And
people just disappeared. Like the
yeah,
government just takes them.
yeah, exactly. And they say you cannot talk against this. Oh, why? Why they can talking and demanding more is the reason of improving of the societies. How you can expect that somebody sitting there and he thinks that he's a holy person and nobody can talk to him, and they have made a holy person there that if you talk against him they say, oh, how you dare talking against and asking questions. Why should you ask questions about, even you cannot ask questions, and so I had my own life, I had my own family, I had my own business, I was making my money there, but I decided then that let's move to a place that I have freedom. I
Hmm.
have freedom on everything. So we believe that in Islam it is not mandatory, for example, wearing hijab. And they say, no, you must wear hijab based on Islam. Why? It is not there. And you are pushing. Look at, for example, Saudi Arabia or any other Islamic countries like Turkey, like Malaysia, and all of these things. They don't force you to do that. And they say you're free to use it or not to use it. And it is always said, one of the main instruction in Islam, there is no mandation in Islam. So why, while it is no mandation, why you are doing this? So all of these things really are big problems because ladies don't want to it. Some of them, yeah, they like it, and even the ladies with hijab, they say that we want this to not to be mandatory. I want to select it myself to cover it. And even the ladies with hijab, they are against mandate, and they say you should leave everybody free to do that. So there are a lot of these things there that really makes you unhappy. And I'm here, and when I see people that complaining that the government, current government,
Here in
I
Canada.
always say that, yeah, in Canada, I say that, yeah, that's right. You should demand for better every day, every single day, of course. But at the same time, I always ask Canadians, you should know that we are already, if you compare it to the conditions of the countries like Iran or other things, you can see that there's a very big amount of, a large amount of freedom here, that you can talk, you can act as you like and you believe. Yeah, it's a very, very big difference. So yeah, it is like this.
Well, Hussein, it's been wonderful talking to you. There would be things, obviously, as Christians, we would have some beliefs different about Jesus, and yet we can be
Yeah,
friends.
yeah,
We
of
can
course.
be
Absolutely.
friends together. We can be at peace together. We can
Exactly.
talk about God together. You and I have talked about praying,
Yeah,
and you'll share with me, please pray for this or please pray for that.
yeah, why
And
not? I think it
I
stops us to be, yeah, having such a conversations.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love the friendship,
yeah,
and we look forward to that, more of that down the road, and getting to know your family and all of that. Thanks so much
yeah.
for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, that is it for another awesome conversation. Make sure you come back again in 2 weeks for our next episode. And again, if this show has been one that you have enjoyed and you're excited about, please help us out by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast as more episodes are released. If you have any questions about anything that has been said in these episodes, please let us know at outsidethewalls at crossviewchurch.ca. Thank you, and we'll see you again.